modern day India in the 21st century, in 2024, someone who is wanted for multiple charges, from murder to rape, simply absconding for a month and a half. It's been 45 days to the day today. And the agencies, whether it is state agencies or central agencies, are simply not able to find where this man is. They're simply not able to do anything about bringing him to justice. But now it is even graver. The horrors that have happened in Sandeshkhali, especially after repeated allegations of rape and gang rape and other violent crimes against women, which has come to the light in the last couple of weeks. The police were initially reluctant to even file an FIR in these grave charges, but now that has been done. The chief of the National Commission for Women was today in Sandeshkhali, and she has said that unspeakable horrors have happened there and that the state is a fit case for president's rule. The Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, who happens to be the only woman Chief Minister in the country right now, she has called the violence exaggerated and politically motivated. So the question is, who is then playing politics over such grave crimes that are alleged to have taken place in Sandeshkhali?
मेरा विचार है कि प्रेसिडेंट रूल होना चाहिए, क्योंकि प्रेसिडेंट रूल के बिना पुलिस नहीं काम कर पाएगी या कोई भी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन यहाँ पे काम नहीं कर पाएगा। अभी तक अगर बचाया जा रहा है शाहजहां को, तो वो इसीलिए क्योंकि वो किसी ना किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी में है।
একটা ঘটনা ঘটেছে, ঘটনা হয়েছে, প্রথমে ইডিকে পাঠিয়েছে, তারপরে তার বন্ধু বিজেপি ঢুকেছে ইডিকে সাথে নিয়ে, আর কিছু মিডিয়া ঢুকেছে, ঢুকে তিলকে তাল করছে, শান্তির পরিবর্তে আগুন লাগাচ্ছে।
कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, अब डिनायल मोड में थे। अभी आप ही ने 164 कराया एक महिला का, और शिबू हाजरा को अरेस्ट कर लिया। शेख शाहजहां कहाँ है? महिलाएं सबसे ज्यादा उनको एक्यूज की ना कि ये बंदा रेप किया।
তো আমাদের এখানে যেগুলো হচ্ছে, আমাদের উপরে নির্যাতন হচ্ছে, সেইগুলো বললাম। পুরুষদের উপরে কিভাবে হচ্ছে নির্যাতন হচ্ছে, রাতের পর রাত নিয়ে গিয়ে কিভাবে ওদেরকে ওপরে টর্চার করা হচ্ছে, মারধর করা হচ্ছে।
All right, so let's take you through the latest updates and what is a sordid saga that has been brewing in Sandeshkhali for the better part of the last month and a half. Shahjahan Sheikh's, his two aides, were arrested by the Bengal police. One of them happens to be TMC leader Uttam Sardar. He's been arrested on charges of rioting as well as sexual harassment. Many of the women took his name, saying that they were sexually harassed by him. Also, another aide of Shahjahan Sheikh, also happens to be a local TMC neta, Shibu Hazra, was arrested on charges of attempt to murder as well as rape. Mamata Banerjee, while speaking in the assembly and outside, has defended Shahjahan Sheikh. The Bengal Chief Minister says this entire thing started with the ED going to arrest Shahjahan Sheikh. The ED went there, she claims, targeting Shahjahan, and that's when this entire violence erupted. The Chief Minister also claims that the BJP, both locally there in Sandeshkhali and in the state, have been exaggerating the violence that happened in Sandeshkhali. BJP workers, she says, are making allegations disguised as locals when there is ample proof. Media has reported it, and now left with no choice, the police have also been forced to register an FIR with these multiple allegations of grave sexual assault against women. The BJP gets a green light from the Calcutta High Court. They moved the Calcutta High Court today. Shivendhu Adhikari, the leader of the opposition, has been allowed to go to Sandeshkhali tomorrow. The Calcutta High Court has also issued an interim stay on Section 144 that was in place in Sandeshkhali. Adhikari has been ordered to refrain from making any inflammatory speeches. That's the direction from the Calcutta High Court. The West Bengal police have ordered to give Shivendhu Adhikari further security. Today, the National Commission for Women chief Rekha Sharma visited Sandeshkhali. She claims that this is a state-sponsored cover-up of sexual assault and land grab. In fact, the NCW chief, speaking to reporters after her visit, has called for Mamata Banerjee's resignation. She has also said this is a fit case for the imposition of president's rule. The Supreme Court was also moved on this matter. There was a PIL asking for a CBI or an SIT probe into what is happening in Sandeshkhali. The Supreme Court has ordered the petitioners to approach the Calcutta High Court instead. The Supreme Court told the petitioners not to compare the situation in Sandeshkhali to what is happening in Manipur. That was one of their contentions in court today. The TMC claims the Supreme Court's order today asking the petitioners to approach the Calcutta High Court and not granting any immediate relief, that the TMC claims is a blow to the BJP's propaganda machine. All right, I want to go across to our various guests who are joining us. This has become a huge political slanging match between the BJP and the TMC in Bengal, and it has had ramifications beyond the state as well. Dr. Shantanu Sen is Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament of the TMC, will be joined by Priyanka Tibrewal of the BJP. Lalita Kumaramangalam is former chairperson of the NCW. Shikha Mukherjee is a senior journalist, and Yashwardhan Azad, former police officer, also joining us. Let me start with you, Dr. Shantanu Sen. You know, multiple agencies have gone to Sandeshkhali and they have all come to the same conclusion, whether it's the National Commission for Scheduled Castes, the West Bengal Child Protection Committee, or today the National Commission for Women. And the conclusion is unspeakable and grave crimes have happened against women there in Sandeshkhali, and no one is doing a thing about it. Even the police took a good 20 days just to register an FIR in some of these grave crimes against women.
First of all, this might be your conclusion, but this is not at all the conclusion at large. Let me tell you, there was severe reportings given by the members of National Women Commission before, our State Women Commission and others, where it has been told categorically before camera that no such complaint of sexual harassment or rape has been received from any lady of Sandeshkhali, number one. Number two, you tell me this Women Commission chief, how she can recommend presidential rule, how she can recommend resignation of chief minister. Her jurisdiction doesn't allow her to speak like this, but she is speaking because she is here to work at the behest of Bharatiya Janata Party. If you go through her history, she will come to know that earlier she was a candidate of Bharatiya Janata Party somewhere. Likewise, you must recall Priyank Kanungo, who was heading another commission. He was the chief of youth wing of Madhya Pradesh of BJP. There was another commission which was headed by former BJP women's wing chief of Gujarat. There was another commission, Mr. Arun Haldar. Who is he? He was the former SC/ST chairman.
No,
another commission was
one
headed
second,
by,
Dr. Sen.
One
Dr.
second,
Sen,
let me complete.
no. You are fair. You are fair and well within your right to look into the antecedents of the people who are heading these agencies. But let me just read out the conclusion of these agencies, just excerpts of it. National Commission for Scheduled Castes that visited on the 15th of February. The visit revealed acts of torture and rape. This is a classic case to invoke president's rule in West Bengal. The West Bengal Child Protection Committee visited to probe a case of child abuse. Child's mother says that miscreants snatched my daughter. And today the National Commission for Women said that the Bengal police did not act in time and that there are grave, unspeakable horrors that have happened against some of the women there in Sandeshkhali. Forget about the antecedents of the people who are heading these organizations. How can multiple agencies come to the same conclusion that unspeakable horrors have happened in Sandeshkhali and the state police has not acted, certainly not acted speedily enough?
Jacob, please don't mind, you are harping on the same string. The state police is working hard and it has been depicted by our DG itself. It has been said by our Honorable Chief Minister, Madam herself. And that's why our political representatives, our elected political representatives, they got arrested. You cannot cite a single example in any BJP ruled state where an accused who belongs to BJP can be arrested by their local administration. Here Trinamool Congress run government can do so. Here lies the beauty of Trinamool Congress government. You can go through the schedule of
Where
the
is the
events
goon of TMC,
accordingly.
Sheikh Shahjahan?
You can
He's
recall
still absconding.
how
One
Uttam
second, please. One
Majumdar
second.
was
Let him finish.
riding on a
One second.
motorcycle without wearing helmet, being associated with the goons, attacking the police personals. Just see the chronologies. You can recall the statement given by Sriti Irani, who was trying to create a narrative Hindu versus Muslim. You can recall the audio clip that of Ognimitra Pal, BJP MLA, that has come out, where she was saying someone that yes, we have to handle this issue for our political interest. You
Okay.
can recall other
So
statements by other
let
political
me
leaders
ask
of
Priyanka
BJP.
Tibrewal of the BJP, the TMC spokesperson, saying that two people have been arrested. They were close aides of Shah Jahan Sheikh. One of them, Uttam Sardar, faces sexual harassment charges, accused of rioting and inciting violence. He has been arrested. And Shibu Hazra, again a TMC local level leader, a close aide of Shah Jahan Sheikh, faces charges of attempt to murder, section 376D, which is gang rape, which has now been added by the Bengal police. The TMC spokesperson's contention is, please show us one example where a BJP person has been arrested in a BJP ruled state for crimes as grave as attack on women.
Sir, our simple question to them is, where is Sheikh Shahjahan? Why is your police incompetent to catch him? Now, whatever they are doing is a mere eyewash, and I will tell you why. Because day before yesterday, they were saying that the women there who have been the rape survivors, when they are speaking in front of camera, they said that all this is nautanki, this is drama, they have been hired, they are like doing dramas after getting money. This is what they were saying. Now, today, why have they arrested them? If everything was a drama and that nothing had happened, why has the police registered an FIR of rape? Why the charges of molestation stands true today? Because till yesterday they said nothing has absolutely happened. They didn't want that anybody should go there, visit there, whether it is the National Commission, whether it is any other commission or any other agencies. They have stopped each and every one because they wanted that the fire should, set down so nobody can speak anything, nobody should come to know the truth. They have gone to the extent of arresting reporters. They have gone to the extent of arresting reporters. I once again question, is it only the duty of the police administration under Mamata Banerjee to see who is wearing a helmet and who is not wearing a helmet? But whatever is happening with the ladies there, when they are being raped, when they are being molested, when they are being assaulted, that is not the duty of the police to register cases under FOXO and rape. Such
Okay.
grave charges they are denying.
Lalita Kumaramangalam, let's leave the politics aside. As a former chairperson of the National Commission for Women, forget about the politics of what the current chairperson said when she went there, saying that the state is a fit case for president's rule, etc. I don't think that's the remit of the NCW. But as my understanding goes, after the Nirbhaya case, when 376 was amended, today the police do not have a choice. If there is a woman complainant who is coming forth and saying that grave sexual assault has happened against her, the police have to forthwith register an FIR. My understanding is, in the Sandeshkhali case, it took them at least 2 weeks for the police to even register an FIR. Is that even permissible as per the new amended law?
You're absolutely right, Zaka. The point is not whether Mamata Banerjee is a woman CM or not. The point is that she's a CM of a state where police are, for some reason, hesitant, probably too afraid or are being threatened. I don't know. Nobody will ever know the truth in this. To even file an FIR when it's not one woman, when a whole huge number of women have cried rape. Now, the point also is not that it may not or may have happened in some other state. Rape is a heinous crime regardless. And when one commission after another, one of which is actually from the state of West Bengal itself, under Mamata's rule, has clearly stated that sexual abuse has happened, then the police should have, as per the law and as per any sort of ethics, if there are any left, should have filed an FIR immediately. Post that, let them do their investigation. Nobody is saying no. And I'd like to tell the TMC gentlemen that there have been people from the BJP who've been arrested on rape charges. For example, in July 2023, a gentleman called Chand Gupta was arrested in UP, in Meerut, for when a 17-year-old girl made the accusation that he had sexually abused her. But again, that is not the moot point here. A mistake made by one person, and this is not just a mistake is a very mild word to use.
It's a crime.
It's an absolutely heinous crime Just because one particular government is trying to cover it up because of their politics or their vote bank or whatever it is, or may have done so in the past, it cannot be a cover up for the present situation.
Okay.
What Rekha Sharma said may have been outside her ambit, but she has said it in anguish and after meeting those women one-on-one. I was also NCW chief. If I had gone there, and with me, I even speak Bengali, I probably would have reacted with the same anger and the anguish. Okay, legally it's not within her ambit, but her comment may not have been a purely legal comment. She would have made the comment probably as a woman who has seen, firsthand the sort of, it's so difficult even to describe what those poor women would have gone through and their children. There have been girls who have been, little girls who have been sexually abused. So I don't think that the point here is whether somebody said something outside their ambit or not. Where on earth is that chap Sheikh Shah Jahan? Where is
Shikha Mukherjee, I think the moot point is that. That's what Priyanka Tibrewal was also asking. That's what Lalita Kumaramangalam has also been asking. Where is this man Sheikh Shah Jahan? Is he so far big and above the law that for 45 days, state agencies and central agencies have been looking for this man and they can't find him? I mean, is he such a big person who is bigger than the law of the land that the agencies can't seem to locate where he is? Some people are saying he is living in Sandeshkhali itself in disguise. There are conspiracy theories doing the round saying he's already escaped from Bengal. He's probably gone into a different state or maybe even a different country. The point is, here is a man who is accused, and no one is saying that he's guilty as charged. He's an accused for multiple grave charges. Why is it that no one seems to know where he is and why can't he be arrested?
Zaka, I'm shocked by your question. If the agencies can't find him, can I have an answer? I mean, this is the ultimate question to which there is no answer, which is that if the police and the central agencies are unable to find him, then the fault lies with the agencies themselves. This is a question which should be asked from the agencies, not from journalists. Journalists only follow a story. They do not look for the culprits themselves.
No, ma'am, the implication, what I intended to ask, the implication being that surely in this day and age, no one can be hiding from the law unless law enforcement agencies are also playing a part in that.
If that is so, then there is a complete breakdown of law and order in the entire country. That is what you're saying. The implications of that is huge. And let me say that this is not, this is if that is your conclusion, I'm actually happy that you've reached that conclusion, because when I look at what is happening in Manipur, and thanks to the Supreme Court, that issue has been raised in the Sandeshkhali case, what is happening there? What is happening there? The local police is unable to control the violence. The central agencies are unable to control the violence. There's a complete failure of the state. That is what we are talking about. And I think that, it needs to go beyond this binary of the opposition and the ruling regime. The ruling regime in one place is always bad. The opposition in another place is always bad. This has to end. Law and order, which is the bedrock on the basis of which government stands, is being taken for granted in state after state after state after state. West Bengal may in one view be the Gaza Strip of India, but Manipur is no less a Gaza Strip of India. What is happening there? And the Supreme Court is right to have raised the issue that Sandeshkhali is not Manipur. What was this? What was this National Commission for Women chairperson doing after Manipur? Did she call for the president's rule? Did she call for the resignation of the chief minister? Did she say that there's a complete breakdown of law and order in that state?
Okay, on the one hand, ma'am, you say don't play politics, but I think by drawing an equivalence between Sandeshkhali and what's happening in Manipur, I think you're also making a political point, but be that as it may, let me ask Yashowardhan Azad, and I think I'm trying to get at something here. Yashowardhan Azad is a former police officer. Please tell me, Yashowardhan Azad, in this day and age where there is cell phone tracking, you can track through cell phone towers, IMEI numbers, social media accounts, can someone be absconding despite the spotlight of the entire national, local media, state and central agencies for 45 days? Can somebody abscond from the law? Is it even possible?
Yes, you can. If you throw away your mobile and you escape to a neighboring country, say Bangladesh, or just escape into another state, you can. But the question is that in this particular case, two of his top aides have already been caught, and there is already a case registered against him. So to say that the police would be complicit in his hiding, I do not agree with that. Besides, you have the central agencies too. So the time will come, and I think very soon he's going to be caught. That's not an issue. But the main point, as you said earlier, and I agree with that, is the delay in registering the FIR, which is a very serious thing, especially when POSCO is involved and especially when gang rape issues are involved. And this was coming from the women, and their angst and anger could be seen because they burnt 3 poultry farms of the accused. So they were under no pressure. They would have given the statements absolutely freely at that particular point of time. You know, the other thing about politics is that the politics is from both sides. Unfortunately, the credibility of the commissions have become, quite low. Each one is trying to be more loyal than the king. The issue of exactly framing the charge sheet or framing the FIR as per the statements is very, very important right now. And Zaka, if you ask me, in cases like this, where it is evident that the women have been trampled upon, their rights, rape or assault, it's very important to have a very neutral agencies. It is very difficult to think of a commission or even a media agency to do it. So the best thing would have been, I would suggest, is a retired judiciary official of the High Court, aided by an IPS officer, as a kind of a truth commission, which would get all the facts and then see that the entire cases are registered.
No, but the matter went to the Supreme Court. The PIL asked for either a CBI inquiry or an SIT, a special SIT to be set up, and the court said, go back to the Calcutta High Court. This is not Manipur. This was the court's observation today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Calcutta High Court is the right one to go to, and SIT is again formed by the state, and CBI is by the center. And that's exactly why I say that if you want any independent inquiry, the independent inquiry can only be done by this.
Okay. So Priyanka Tripurwal, now that you're back on the broadcast, one point 2 or 3 panelists have made is, when Manipur was happening, where was Rekha Sharma? Where was the NCW? How come they didn't go there and say the same thing, that it's a fit case for imposing president's rule?
Well, I'll tell you something, Zaka. It really upsets me when I see women like Shikha Mukherjee, who was, jumping at that time of Manipur. But today, when the entire village, when all the women are there on the streets in front of camera, she doesn't have any empathy towards those women, and they are comparing. They are comparing rape, and they are comparing the rape of Sandeshkhali to that what happened in Manipur. I believe that anything which happens against women, nothing is tolerable. There should be absolutely no tolerance. There should be voices. And at the time of Manipur also there were voices. People were saying that whatever happened was not correct. But today, why Shikha Mukherjee is having the difficulty when the Women Commission goes there? See, there was the same denial from Shikha Mukherjee and others like her during the post-poll violence. They continued saying that nothing has happened in West Bengal. They are making it a political scene. But then with the stepping in of NHRC and the stepping in of Women Commission before the courts of law, I, through my petition, proved that what was happening on the ground. And the courts went to the extent of saying that yes, there was violence which Mamata Banerjee and her party was continuously denying. And this is the same thing, Raka, which will come out from this Sandeshkhali issue as well, where they are saying that these women are doing notanki, these women are doing natak. If everyone is doing natak and notanki, why have you registered the FIR? Why have you arrested these people if nothing has happened?
Shikha
whatever they are
Mukherjee,
saying,
please
more than
respond.
what
When you
is
bring in the Manipur example, let's be clear
I
about
did.
it.
The
There was
Supreme Court
national
did,
outrage
Zaka.
when Manipur happened. It even stalled a session of parliament. There was a debate in parliament where the senior most leaders of this country, of this government, had to respond to
They
diminish what has
didn't,
happened in
Zaka.
Sandeshkhali
That is
in
the
light of what's
problem.
happened in Manipur is not doing justice to either.
See, this is where the problem lies. You cannot have multiple ways of looking at the same problem. If there is a breakdown of law and order, when women are assaulted and they are attacked and there is rape and there is sexual abuse, then the same law prevails. The law is not special for the Brijbhushans of this world. The law is not special for the Restless Federation goons, who had all those women wrestlers on the streets in Delhi
Zaka,
under
can I come in,
everybody's
please?
nose.
Yeah.
When Manipur happens and the Supreme Court actually draws that makes that comparison, I am not making the comparison. I have refrained in the last few times that I have participated on, not on your channel but in other channels, on the Sandeshkhali issue from drawing the Manipur comparison. But the Supreme Court is doing it. Why is the Supreme Court doing it? Is the Supreme Court less competent in these matters? I am very clear in my head that when there is a breakdown of law and order, as has happened in Manipur, the same way in which things in West Bengal are perceived, things in West Bengal are taken up, the way in which the central agencies and the government has to operate, the same thing applies. And you referred to the parliament, where the whole session of parliament got disrupted for what reason? A state is in turmoil. There is ethnic cleansing going on there. And we are asking the Home Minister
Zaka, can I come in, please?
for accountability.
Lalita
And
Kumar
there is no
Mangalam,
accountability.
please respond. I mean, the
Please,
same
now
law,
let me
the
finish,
same law,
Here
Can I
it
come in,
is-
please?
yeah, the same law should apply to
Minister
Brijbhushan Sharans of the
has
world.
made statements
What
in
happened
the
to our
assembly.
wrestlers? They were protesting on the streets of Delhi, and Brijbhushan Sharan, through proxy or otherwise, is still in control of wrestling in India.
First, let me say that it doesn't sound like Mrs. Mukherjee, with all due respect to her, is not playing politics here. At the beginning of the show, I said that whether it is Manipur, whether it is West Bengal, whether it is UP, Rajasthan, any other state, rape is rape. When the convicts who were in for Bilkis Banu's rape were let out, I was the only person who said that they should not have been given bail. I'd like to say this very clearly here.
You were not the
Regardless
only
of what
person,
may have,
please.
ma'am, please, I did not interrupt you. Let me finish. Please. The point here is not what is happening in Manipur or somewhere else. The point is that today we are talking about West Bengal. And if, by what Ms. Mukherjee says, the same law is to be applied to everybody, then the way she is criticizing Manipur, the same way West Bengal should be criticized and questioned. I am not saying what is happening in Manipur was right, or the action that should have been taken against Brijbhushan Sharma but wasn't is right. What I am saying is that everybody seems to be playing politics. And in the end, it's the victims, the women and the children, who are suffering. If we can for once put aside our political leanings or sympathies or whatever it is, and agree that what today is happening in West Bengal is just another sickening, terrifying example of how pervasive patriarchy is in Indian politics, and that immediate action needs to be taken at the very least today in West Bengal.
Dr. Shantanu
If
Sen,
only
isn't
to
it
prove
all
a
the
point,
more imperative
then
that,
yes,
that Mamata
what
Banerjee
people
being
are
the
saying
only
is fine.
woman chief minister in the state, in the country, the fact that in her state, where the police are under her, these grave allegations have come forth, and the chief minister unfortunately has said that they look exaggerated, they look politically motivated. Let's have a probe, let's find out. Like I said, as per the new amended 376, the section of the IPC that deals with rape, the police are duty bound to register an FIR the moment a woman complainant comes forth.
See, the only lady chief minister of the country who takes so much care of women, she also says, yes, rape is a heinous crime. But the issue
No, she
is
didn't say so.
you have to see two things. Number one, whether the complaint is true or false. And number two, if there is at all any incident that has taken place, whether the administration is playing its own course or not. Unlike Madhya Pradesh, where recently a pregnant woman was gang raped, unlike in UP, where in the constituency of Sriti Irani, a rape victim had to take poison because he didn't get justice. Unlike Rajasthan, where a rape victim had to climb up a water tank for claiming justice. Here in our state of West Bengal, for each and every incident, our administration takes a neutral role and they take their own
So
course
why
of
did the
action.
police in Sandeshkhali take 15 days after these allegations were made public? These women were speaking to the media, but the police did not register an FIR for a good 15 days.
Certainly not. You have seen after the deposition of that lady, police arrested two persons who were associated with Trinamool Congress. Once again, I repeat. On the contrary, in Gujarat,
Why?
one
That is
rape
the question.
victim,
Why?
she used
When
to
you
be a
said that
Panchayat
no rape
Sadasya
took
of
place,
BJP.
why did
She
you
was
arrest?
claiming that one minister raped her. Even then, he is still in the ministry. Here lies the difference between BJP
Okay.
ruled states and Trinamool Congress ruled
Right.
states.
Priyanka Tibrewal, final word. Yashwardhan Azad says in this day and age, it's still possible if someone just loses his cell phone and flees to a neighboring state or a neighboring country, it's possible that somebody is absconding despite the efforts of the state or central agencies to locate him.
This government is complicit in whatever is happening in Shahjahan's case because they very well know that where he is, but they are not trying to arrest him and they cannot arrest him. Now they are left with no
Why
cases because
also
most
know
of their
this end?
mantris are there in the jail.
Why don't
And
you
it is a
ask
matter
Shubhendu
of
Adhikari
shame.
to
He
disclose?
takes pride. He takes pride that
Why
Mamata
don't
Banerjee
you
being a
ask
woman,
Shubhendu
it is a
Adhikari to
matter of
disclose?
shame.
He was
I
claiming
think
he
it is a
knows his
matter of
location.
shame that she being the women minister and the police minister herself did not ask the police to take action for
Shubhendu
45 good
Adhikari
long days.
was claiming
Now
that
you
he
see,
knows his
they run to
location.
UP and Manipur with a
Why
fact-finding
Shubhendu
committee
Adhikari
every
should not
time.
be
With a
arrested? You tell me.
fact-finding committee. Why didn't for once Mamata Banerjee go to Sandeshkhali? She rather went and said that these women have taken 5,000 rupees to lie in front of cameras. They are all agents. She said these are CPM women. These are BJP women. Women being raped, whosoever it is, CPM or BJP, will the chief minister not take any action over that? That is what the question is.
All right.
You see, restless were
I have to leave it at that. All I'll say as I conclude is this: whether a grave crime against a woman has happened in Manipur or in Rajasthan or in Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra or Bengal, a crime is a crime, and like I keep saying, the law of the land makes it imperative that the investigating agencies, the law enforcement agencies, the moment a woman complainant comes forth and says that there's been a grave sexual assault on her, the law enforcement agencies have no choice but to file an FIR and an investigation should be launched forthwith. That is the implication of the new amended Section 376. If that's not been done for the better part of almost 2 weeks after these allegations came to light, then that is a big blot on not just any state, but the only state in India which is helmed by a woman chief minister. We hope that better lessons are learned by the state administration there, and there is eventually a thorough probe into what happened in Sandeshkhali. Let's move on to what else we're tracking here on Brass Tacks, a deep dive into the impact of the sudden death, the shocking news that came out Friday of the death of Russian opposition leader and longtime dissident Alexei Navalny. It has sent shockwaves across the globe, and angry President Biden has accused Putin of being behind Navalny's death. In fact, that's an allegation that's been repeated by his family as well. Western leaders, whether in Washington or in London or in Paris or Berlin, have condemned Vladimir Putin over Navalny's death. But will this or won't this dent Putin's impregnable political clout in Russia, which only seems to have expanded, particularly more so after the Ukraine war, which incidentally this week will complete 2 years. And in these last 2 years, right now, suffice to say that Russia is looking at its strongest militarily on the ground in the Ukraine war, and Putin perhaps politically at his strongest in the last 2 years. So will the Navalny death, as shocking as it is, have any impact within Russia or even beyond? World leaders gathered in Munich over the weekend for the annual Munich Security Conference. Over the years, this has become the premier platform for discussing geopolitical and strategic affairs. This year too, with 2 active wars, one in Ukraine and the other in Gaza, there was enough on the plate of world leaders. But that is when another lightning blow struck. World leaders got news on Friday that Russia's longtime opposition leader and dissident, Alexei Navalny, had died in an Arctic prison while he was out on a morning walk. No specific reason was given for the cause of his death. In Munich, world leaders were left gutted and perplexed. The annual security conference suddenly became a funeral, a memorial for Alexei Navalny. In London, demonstrators projected a giant image of Navalny on top of the Russian embassy building. In Washington, an angry President Joe Biden called a news conference and he declared openly that Vladimir Putin was responsible for Navalny's death. But President Biden offered no proof to substantiate his claim. Rarely has the death of a single man summoned such a cascade of grief, anger, and of course demands from his people for justice. Many had feared the worst for Alexei Navalny for the last many years, ever since he returned to Russia in early 2021 from Germany. In Germany, he was poisoned and thought to be dead almost until he recovered from that illness. But the news of his death sent shockwaves across the world. World leaders were trying to wrap their heads around why this had happened and why now. Governments, however cruel and repressive they are, they often spare dissident figures. Look at Ai Weiwei and China. After all, no one wants to deal with a political martyr. Alexei Navalny could now go from dissident in life to martyr in death. While he was alive, Navalny was often compared to Nelson Mandela, the anti-apartheid leader who languished in prison for 27 years before emerging to lead a democratic South Africa. But Navalny could not do what Mandela did. He could not lead Russia into a democratic transformation. But even Mandela did not have to contend with a strongman, take no prisoners absolutist like Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. Whether Navalny's death will reverberate throughout Russia, something which his life couldn't as much, is not yet clear. Even the circumstances of his death are still shrouded in mystery. There was only a cryptic report from a remote North Arctic prison saying that the 47-year-old convict had collapsed after a walk. His family has not received his body yet. His mother was told that her son died of sudden death syndrome. That was that. No further explanation. Much has changed since Alexei Navalny began his career as an opposition politician more than a decade ago. At the time he broke out onto the political scene, he was a charismatic figure who appealed to restless middle-class residents in Moscow. It was also the time when there was a political musical chairs going on between then Prime Minister Vladimir Putin and then President Dmitry Medvedev. There was some hope back then that Putin might give up power after all. Those hopes turned out to be wishful thinking. Putin changed the Russian constitution, he returned as president, and has had 2 more terms since then. Navalny's appeal to democracy and to fight Putin's corruption machine had a much smaller audience. It did not resonate across the Russian heartland. So just like the Arab Spring back at that time, the Russian Spring too did not last long. Now, 10 years later, Putin is politically at his strongest. There are no rivals either domestically in Russia or even exiled abroad who can challenge Putin one day. His troops are back on the march in neighboring Ukraine. It's going to be 2 years this week since this war began, and there are no signs yet of Russia losing, despite the might of America and Europe thrown behind Ukraine. In fact, Russia has been recently emboldened by its victory in the key town of Avdiivka. Western leaders are contending with depleted interest in Ukraine, both in Europe as well as across the Atlantic in America. They're in particular among Republicans in the US Congress who are less inclined to fund Ukraine and its war effort. In fact, the Republican frontrunner in this year's election, Donald Trump, has been openly derisive of Ukraine, and his party colleagues on Capitol Hill have been holding up a $60 billion Ukraine defense spending bill. Efforts to build a genuine global coalition against Russia's war never really got off the ground. China, India, even Iran is continuing to do business with Moscow. Last June, South Africa eagerly welcomed Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at a meeting to discuss a new world order which is no longer dominated by the West. And yet, the tributes to Alexei Navalny have been pouring in. Flowers have been piling up at memorial sites around the world. Inside Russia, the police detained more than 400 people who dared to leave bouquets out in the snow. Some see a sliver of hope. Critics of Putin, howsoever few of them there are, and even fewer who are willing to speak publicly, are now hoping that Navalny's death could be a galvanizing moment. There is some hope across in America too. Some experts are hoping that Navalny's death would make it politically untenable for American lawmakers to be viewed as being accommodative of Putin, and that too in an election year. In the short run, it would also make it harder for at least some Republican House members in the US Congress to hold up additional military aid to Ukraine. Republicans have linked funding to Ukraine to more stringent measures against immigration from the southern border with Mexico. Western officials are hoping to press Russia for the release of other Russian political prisoners, the likes of Vladimir Kara-Murza, who was sentenced to 25 years for treason last April. Whether or not such appeals would actually sway Putin, that is anyone's guess. Within Russia, it is harder to predict the long-term effect of Alexei Navalny's death. Putin faces far less popular resistance now than he did when Navalny began in politics. Putin is also operating in a world where his writ runs large. There are very few who can question him both inside and outside of Russia. While Navalny had sympathizers in the government, his loss deprives Russia of a Nelson Mandela-like figure. But even Mandela would have found it tough against a redoubtable opponent like Vladimir Putin. And now there is a newer problem to contend with. Navalny wanted to outlive Putin. He was hoping that a day would come in a post-Putin era where Russia might be open to democracy. And if it is, then he would be its natural torchbearer. Now he's a political martyr, one of many in Russia. And that is a harder story to sell. He was uniquely charismatic, he was a popular leader of the opposition, but there is now no obvious person who can take that baton from him, except perhaps for his wife. Navalny's widow, Yulia Navalnaya, was at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend. On Friday, she took to the podium in Munich and said this to Putin and his friends, a message that was as clear as it gets. This is a message that will be heard in the Kremlin very loudly and very resoundingly. But will that message be heeded to? May not necessarily be the case. So the entire globe has been in utter shock at this sudden passing away of Russia's opposition leader and longtime dissident Alexei Navalny. A statement which simply read that Navalny passed away while he was on a morning walk in a North Arctic prison. Let's try and assess the impact of this domestically in Russia. whether this is going to have any kind of impact on Russian domestic politics as Putin gears up for yet another domestic election. Also, whether all the international condemnation, whether it's in Washington or in London or other European capitals, will necessarily translate into more support for Ukraine as this war now enters the third year later this week. Joining me now is CNN's Claire Sebastian. She's been reporting on this story live from London. Thank you very much, Claire, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Let me start off by asking you, first things first, do we have any more details that's been revealed by the Russian authorities as to what caused Navalny's death? Has his body now been handed over to his wife, to his mother? The bare details that we had on Friday was that he died while he was on a morning walk. Is there any more information that's forthcoming from the Russian authorities?
Yeah, there's not a lot of information out there. We know that his mother and his lawyer traveled to the remote region of Yamal-Nenets in Russia's far north on Saturday to try to take custody of his body. They have yet to do that. We're told by Navalny's spokesperson, Kira Yarmysh, this morning that they arrived early in the morning at the morgue. We believe this is the second time they've visited the morgue in the regional administrative center in that region, and we're told nothing. The lawyer was apparently pushed out of the way. They were told by the investigative committee in that region that an investigation is still ongoing and they don't know when it will be finished. That investigative committee has previously said that his body won't be released until it's finished. So not a lot of answers there. The Navalny team is accusing the Russian authorities of hiding the body. We've just had a video statement, a long video statement out from Navalny's wife, Yulia Navalnaya, in which she essentially accuses Russia of trying to hide, as she says, traces of its Novichoks, a reference to the nerve agent that an investigation revealed had poisoned Navalny back in 2020. So that is what they are saying, but no evidence, no results of any of the investigations. The Kremlin also saying today that an investigation is underway, they say, according to Russian law, but no results as of yet. So a lot of questions still swirling around this.
Claire, if you could also throw some light into the international condemnation that we've seen since this news broke on Friday. There have been very strong words in Washington, in London, and also in Munich at the security conference that happened over the weekend. World leaders were perplexed by what had happened and they were incensed by what had happened. If you could just take our viewers through the kind of reactions that this news has elicited in global capitals around the world.
Look, I mean, a lot of condemnation, accusations directed at the Kremlin, accusing them of being behind this. So the rhetoric has been very strong from global leaders, but no action as of yet. We haven't seen any country, decide to put more sanctions on Russia over this. We haven't seen any major new aid packages for Ukraine, and many are saying now that that would be the best way to try to take on Putin's Russia that many believe was behind Navalny's death in this prison, they having jailed him in the first place. But obviously U.S. aid is still stalled in Congress. Congress is on a 2-week recess. There's no suggestion even that they will put legislation to a vote to provide new funding for Ukraine when they get back. So a lot of talk about accountability. Yulia Navalnaya, Navalny's wife, is taking part in a European Council meeting today. So she is out there trying to continue to try to pick up the baton, pick up where he left off. But so far, no concrete action in the wake of this.
All right. And Claire, one final question. This has also come coincidentally at a time when Russia seems to be making further gains in the eastern part of Ukraine. A critical town apparently fell from Ukrainian control, and Russia has taken control of that over the weekend. If you could tell us if this could spur action in Western capitals, particularly in Washington, where you said this defense bill has been pending. Republicans are refusing to put that to vote in the House of Representatives. Even in Europe, we're seeing stuttering action when it comes to further aid to Ukraine. Whether Navalny's death would sort of galvanize more Western action to try and help Ukraine defend itself.
Yeah, look, I think certainly that's the hope. President Biden has said explicitly that he hopes that the death of Navalny could spur action from Congress. He has explicitly blamed congressional inaction for the fall of that small town in eastern Ukraine, Avdiivka. In Europe, look, they have approved recently a new €50 billion aid package. There is, though, research shows a gap between what Europe is committing to Ukraine and what is actually physically able to send to Ukraine. So there are logistical issues at play here. I think in the US, it's hard to imagine that politics isn't going to continue to get in the way. As I said, House Speaker Mike Johnson has not yet committed even to putting legislation that was passed by the Senate to the House floor. So that is going to continue to be stalled. And meanwhile, Russia is emboldened by this. They see what's happening. They've taken Avdiivka. They are now attacking in other areas along this 1,000-kilometer front line up north in the Kharkiv region, down south in western Zaporizhia, where Ukraine had really concentrated its failed counteroffensive last year. So it is taking this opportunity, and Ukraine is on the back foot, not only when it comes to weaponry, but also in terms of air superiority and in terms of manpower. So this is certainly a fragile, a precarious moment for Ukraine.
And clearly later this week, the war will finish 2 years. And at least at this point in time, it looks like Russia seems to have the advantage in this war that's been going on for far too long, some would say. We leave it at that. Claire Sebastian, many thanks for joining us live from London, CNN correspondent there, with her thoughts and perspective into this shocking news that came out Friday of the death of Alexei Navalny, one of the longtime dissidents and opposition leaders in Russia. He died in a North Arctic prison. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for tuning in to Brass Tacks, but we'll have more on the Navalny story as well as global reactions to it up on our website news18.com, as well as on our social media handles on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for tuning in. The entire government capacity to procure crops from the farmers is only 25%. Remaining 75% produce in this country is being sold as per market rate. Out in the market decides what the price is.
They all came together to give the BJP a spirited fight, but with months to go, nothing seems to be falling in line for the INDI alliance or the entire India bloc.
A ragtag coalition of people who are not sure about also chalis par. Whatever it is our ya par. What are farmers in India asking for? We are not going to be held liable for parali burning. We don't want electricity reforms in the country. We're going to have our own preferences of what we grow, and then we want prices to be according to us as well. Not all of that can go together.
Does the Congress lie about this Modani business just to spread disaffection? Rahul Gandhi gets up in Parliament, and what does he say? Modani, Modani, Modani. Egg on their faces.
Presented by 6 साल से आपने ये सपना देखा जब सरफराज सिर्फ 6 साल का था?
नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ कि एक शिद्दत के साथ उसमें लगे हुए थे हम लोग, और अपना घर, मेरा घर के बाहर एक पीछे क्रिकेट की, तो वो कौन सा एक शेर याद आ रहा है कि किसने सोचा था अपने घर ऐसे भी मंजर होंगे, घर अपना मैदान बनाकर घर से हम बेघर होंगे, और ये मिट्टी ज़िद्दी बहुत है, सर पर कर्ज नहीं रखती, जो इन पर मेहनत करते हैं ताज उन्हीं के सर होंगे।
क्या बात।
आज नहीं तो कल होंगे, आज नहीं तो कल होंगे। तो वही एक सोच रहा था कि मेहनत तो किए हैं, तो उसमें बीच में एक शेर और याद आया था, मैंने पढ़ा भी था कि जो मेरा ख्वाब है आंखों का हिस्सा क्यों नहीं होता, दिए हम भी जलाते हैं उजाला क्यों नहीं होता। तो ये इस तरीके की सोच भी आई थी कभी कि क्यों नहीं हो रहा है सुबेरा, क्यों नहीं हमारे को चांस मिल रहा है। लेकिन जैसे मैंने वो कहा ना कि सूरज अपने समय पे निकलेगा, और वो निकला 15 तारीख की सुबह में निकला 8:40 पे, जब वो सरफराज को कैप मिली। देश के लिए खेलना, 92 इयर्स के टेस्ट क्रिकेट के अंदर टोटल 310 लोग खेले हैं, और 140 करोड़ की पॉपुलेशन है हमारी इंडिया की। वो कुछ कैप तो मुझे ही मिली है, समझ लो कि मैं अपना ही सपना उससे जी रहा था।
अपना सपना तो आप जी रहे थे और सूरज आपने सही कहा निकला और क्या चमका, और आगे भी ऐसे ही चमकते रहे उसके सितारे, उसका सारा कैलिबर, हम तो यही चाहेंगे। पर अब मैच की तरफ ज़रा जाते हैं। उस दिन सरफराज बहुत ही बढ़िया पारी खेल रहा था, सबको लगा कि आज तो डेब्यू में 100 रन बनेंगे जिस तरह से खेल रहा है, लेकिन कैसे एकदम रन आउट हो गया। हम सब, वो हमने स्टेडियम में सुना, एकदम साइलेंस हो गया था। हम सब जो घर पे बैठ के देख रहे थे, हम सबके मुंह खुले के खुले रह गए कि हुआ क्या, इतनी अच्छी पारी एकदम से कैसे ख़त्म हो गई। आपने उसके बाद क्या बात करी सरफराज से? हमने बाद में जो मैच के बाद में जो पिक्चर्स देखे, उसमें भी उसको भी बिलीव नहीं हो रहा था, वो बस बैठा हुआ था, उसकी शक्ल दिखा रहे थे। रोहित शर्मा ने गुस्से में अपनी कैप फेंकी, इतने